Hello and welcome to Chapter 6, Part 1 of Small Business Management, which is talking about primarily the business model. This chapter, which is called The Business Plan, Visualizing the Dream, I like to break it down into two separate sections. I like to break it down into the business model, which always comes first, and then the business plan. I don't think the authors, it's one gripe I have about the book. The authors really don't talk too much about how the business model should always come before the business plan. So let me briefly give you a scenario. Let's say you're an entrepreneur and you have this great idea, at least you think you have a great idea, and you scribble it out on paper, and you say, okay, here's where the revenue is going to come from. And okay, so it's going to cost me this much, and this much to generate this amount of revenue. Is my revenue greater than my cost? If it is, I have a feasible idea. It's feasible. If my revenue is less than my cost to generate that revenue, then it's not a feasible idea. And there's no sense in spending money and spending time creating a business plan. So the business model always comes before the business plan, because the business model is going to help you answer the initial question of whether or not this idea even has a chance to work. Okay? If it costs more to actually make it happen, then it's not a good idea. If I need to make $1,000 a month in order to have a business, and the cost associated with that $1,000 of revenue is $2,000, then I'm $1,000 in the hole. And businesses aren't in business to lose money. Businesses are in business to make money, to make a profit. So the business model always should be created before the business plan. It needs to look at everything from the customer, how we're going to distribute it. Primarily, though, it's the revenue model, okay, versus the cost structure. And this is what it really looks at. And this business plan tells us whether or not there's a positive number after we look at everything involved objectively. Can we make revenue? Where's the revenue coming from? And how much is it going to cost to make that revenue? Employee salaries, rent or lease, inventory, marketing, whatever it is, whatever the costs are. Is there a positive number at the end of the month? And that's primarily what the business model will help us determine. There's a template that a lot of businesses and business schools like to use. And I have actually revised this template a little bit, but it's called the Lean Canvas. And you'll find this in the resources section of this chapter. You'll find a copy of this. You'll also find a copy in the assignment section, because there is an assignment that I want you to fill out based on a business that you come up with, a fictional business, or maybe it's a business that you are thinking about opening one day, or maybe it's a business that you're already associated with. But this is what it looks like. This is a copy of that business model, and it's called the Lean Canvas, and it looks at the customer segments, who is involved with who are our target customers, what is the problem that we're trying to solve, because all businesses solve some type of problem in order to provide value, which is number 3. What's our unique value proposition? How does that value translate into a solution, or how does the solution actually give value to the customer? How are we going to distribute this service, this product to the customer? It's number 5. Where are the revenue streams coming from? Are they coming from one product, two products, multiple products? What do they look like? What is the cost of that are associated with this revenue? What are the costs? How are we going to measure whether or not we're successful? Obviously, profit, market share, um, sales. What's the unfair advantage? In other words, what is it that we do that no one else can do? Maybe we don't have an unfair advantage, but is there something that this business can offer that currently is not being offered in the marketplace? And that is the lean canvas business model. And when you fill that out and you take a look at that, that should give you a really good idea as to if this business is feasible, especially the two bottom, number 6 and 7. If we took a look at these revenue streams and what it costs to get these revenue streams, is this a good idea? And that's the lean canvas business model. And that is that is your chapter 6, number 1 assignment. Here's the basic business model framework. Again, looking at the revenue, where's the revenue coming from, and the cost that are associated with those revenues. Not only raw materials, inventory, but salaries, all your total costs and expenses. The business model will tell us whether or not this is a good idea. Here's the key elements in the business model: the revenue, the cost structures. In the revenue, is the revenue volume or unit based? In other words, do we sell a product and X number of sales equals X amount of revenue? Is it a subscription membership based model, such as, say, Planet Fitness, where they make all their money on their memberships? Is it advertising based, like in a website, possibly? Maybe you make videos for YouTube. If you make videos on YouTube to make money, it's all going to be advertising based. Is it licensing based? Are you going to produce a product and then you're going to license others to sell it? Are your revenue streams single or multiple? Are they interdependent? In other words, a copier company makes copiers, but they also garnish revenue from the ink that is sold. In fact, the ink that is sold over the lifetime of the copiers, the revenue from the ink is far more than the price of the copier. That's an interdependent revenue stream. Well, here we go. I jumped ahead of myself. That's an interdependent revenue stream, as I just described. Single revenue stream comes from one single product. Not the best type of business to have because you're relying on just one single product. Multiple revenue streams come from multiple products and services. And the interdependent I just explained. Who are your customers? How are they different from the general population? In other words, what's your target market? How have you segmented? Are you going after all the 18 to 24-year-olds who earn over $40,000 a year? And what is it why do they need your product? What is it? Is your product going to be needed even if there is a recession? Or is it only going to be, is there only going to be a demand when unemployment is very low? Because it's not a need, it's a want type of item. Can you predict this? And how do customers make a decision on whether or not to buy your product? All these questions are answered. Key decision factors. Are there differences known to the customer in your product? Does it bring value? And how can you actually let your customers know about the product? Now, a lot of what is developed in the business model will eventually go into the business plan, but the business model has to take place first to find out whether or not your business is feasible. Cost structures. So we talked about revenues and the products. What about the cost? Are they fixed cost? Are they variable cost? What are all the costs? We have to look at everything involved and to make sure that we don't leave anything out. Some entrepreneurs make the mistake of developing or creating a business, and then all of a sudden, once they start in business, said, "Oh my God, I forgot to even factor in this expense." There's insurance cost, there's workers' compensation, there's social security taxes, there's unemployment taxes that have to be paid. All of these things have to be factored into the cost structure. You cannot omit any type of costs that are associated with the revenues. Otherwise, you're going to overstate your revenue. It's a short chapter. I just wanted to go over the business model. Now would be a good time to start and finish your chapter 6, assignment number 1, which is a completion of the lean canvas. After you've done that, watch the chapter 6 part 2 video, which goes over the business plan. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great day.